This meeting is being conducted in compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Notice of this meeting has been provided by advertisement in the Cape May Star and Wave, the Herald, and on the Township website, and has been posted on the Bulletin Board of Township Hall.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Conrad.
Here.
Councilmember Neville.
Here.
Councilmember Simonson.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Clark.
Here.
Mayor Beck.
Here. Is this working? Can you hear me out there? Okay. Doesn't seem loud enough. Move down to the work session. Solicitor, you want to lead us a little bit on the conflict discussion on advisory boards, what our options are?
I will, Mayor. I
Move that mic up.
had the opportunity at council's request at the last council meeting to review the law and its applicability to our various advisory boards that have been created by this council according to the Township Code, the Administrative Code. And I've determined that many of those boards, the boards that are created at the discretion of council, meaning those that are not created in accordance with some law, for instance, municipal land use law, which requires the creation of the zoning or planning board, which are referred to, or Mayor, you've referred to them as boards of record. They're boards that are under the jurisdiction of the local finance board, which makes them subject to the New Jersey ethics law because they're under the jurisdiction of the board. The advisory boards, on the other hand, are not. They're not under the jurisdiction, so they're not subject to that statute. But I think one of the concerns council should be aware of is that these boards that make recommendations to the council, there should be some consistency between the ethical regulations that govern this council and those that may or may not govern the advisory board, so that in the event an issue comes up through, it's looked at the advisory boards, they vote on it, they pass on that recommendation to council. Council would then, can do whatever it likes with that recommendation, accept it, reject it, modify it, or even ignore it. But there shouldn't be, it seems, that for consistency, both the governing body and the advisory board should be following the same rules, so to speak. And that would be the ethics regulations in the New Jersey state statutes. So council may want to consider giving guidance to the advisory boards on what they should or should not follow, what they should use as guidelines, or if you feel it necessary to compel adherence to whatever regulations you deem suitable. You have the power to create these commissions. You have the power to regulate the means by which they function. And when I say commissions, committees, and commissions.
Okay, council, comments? Tom?
I wouldn't have any problem with them giving a guideline that they follow the state ethics standards.
Jim? All right. I think, okay, well, let me clarify that. One of the, they are not a board that carries the ability to basically put into effect anything. It's their advisory boards is what we're talking about. Make sure the Rec Advisory Board, the Environmental Commission, those kinds of boards. And the problem I have is if we hard fast that and we say they must follow, what it does is puts, and I think that's something that came up at the last meeting, which is that it eliminates their ability to discuss the issue.
Well, that's why I said guidelines, because there's going to be certain ones. We're not codifying it. We're saying we recommend that they follow it, because there's going to be certain things
Yeah,
that,
the word should rather than
Yes.
must.
Yes.
I think that's where I'm headed. I mean, I appreciate the expertise that certain people bring to our boards. It's, you know, and I think that we clear up something and we ask them, like, if they're working for a company, and it could be any board, I'm not singling out any person, but if they have a specific expertise and they help us through something, and there comes about a vote that may, down the line, someday generate a contract, which their company may be bidding on, that the best thing is just to abstain from that vote. It saves us all a lot of aggravation in that way. There are times when people have certain specific talents that we would be lost in the desert without their guidance in some areas, and I think we know what we're referring to here. So I would prefer that maybe something goes out to all the boards of record, just reminding them, and the chairperson especially, that, and that's big there. I mean, that you must abstain if you have a conflict and you're on some of the boards, zoning, planning, even this board. But the letter would be addressed more through the memo to the boards, the advisory boards, that in the future we would, prefer, we ask that they abstain in situations where there is the potential of either conflict or the perception of conflict. Okay? Is everybody on council okay with that as far as that goes? You need a vote on that? Yeah, let's,
I think that would.
somebody want to make a motion that we do this so that we're all on the same page with this?
I'll move. I'll second it.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Neville?
Yes.
Councilmember Simonson?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Beck?
Yes. All right, thank you. And we'll move down to the consent agenda. Does anybody have any questions, problems, issues with the consent agenda?
Just to let people know, Resolution 2014-237, the capital budget amendment, is they're removing the police department, the new building, out of the ordinance, and that is the change.
Well, that's simply because we need to get these things moved ahead. It does not mean that we're not moving forward with that.
No, I'm just letting people know what the change was, that's all it is.
Okay. And I think that, where's Lauren? Is she here?
Yep.
And she's hiding back there. All right,
Behind Lauren.
I won't call on you for any specifics, but what we would do, assuming that we move forward, we'd have a special, correct me if I'm wrong, a bond for the police building, correct? All right. I hear you chirping back here, so I guess I'm on the right page.
So, just to be clear, we're voting on a capital amendment which would include line items in the budget for equipment that we need.
Yes.
This would authorize the manager to purchase equipment, but we don't have to do it, right? We're
Right.
not, this
What
is,
you're doing is authorizing this capital, and it doesn't mean everything will be approved. It still has to go before the manager for approval, and then before council if it exceeds, it's a large piece of equipment that's over $37,500. You don't have to come back and say if we buy a backhoe or a dump truck or any large piece of equipment. Other than that, it could be a wish list for some departments, but as things change, everything in there, it's going to be a moving document because it needs my authorization. They have to prove they need it.
thank you.
Okay. Is there any other comments or questions on the consent agenda? Okay, open up the public comments or questions on the consent agenda. All right, we'll close the public portion.
Approval of minutes from April 4th, 2014. Resolutions number 2014-232 through 2014-237. And ordinance number 2014-10, a bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements in and by the Township of Lowert in the County of Cape May, State of New Jersey, appropriating $1,312,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $1,235,000 bonds or notes of the Township to finance part of the cost thereof. This is the first reading. The second reading and public hearing is scheduled for Wednesday, September 3rd, 2014.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
I'll move.
I'll second it.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Neville?
Yes.
Councilmember Simonson?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Beck?
Yes. Move down to administrative reports. Does council have any comments or question on that? And if not, we'll go to council comments.
I'm going to keep mine short. I hope everyone called about, we're going to be going into closed session to discuss the Cape May litigation concerning the schools, but the irony of the fact that Cape May believes it's only fair to pay for the election using the same funding formula they're fighting.
The last concert was at the Ferry. It was a great turnout. Everybody had a good time. It's well appreciated by the people that go there, and it's something that we can do as a council for the good of the community. And it's great to see everybody there having a good time and enjoying themselves. And appreciate the work that the Rec Advisory Board has done and put this program together. I haven't got through the whole of it yet, but I do see where they're very, very paying a good attention to what Lauren Reed has said about the bonding capability that we have. And down the road, you know, if there's something that is, besides infrastructure and roads, good for the community, then we as a council get to pass that kind of stuff. I appreciate the work that they've did. Thank you.
All right.
We had a couple very important meetings. I know Manager Vole was there, and the first of which was regarding the Garden State Parkway Exit 0 revisions that they're supposed to start next year. One of the issues, we had the Department of Transportation, also the Turnpike Authority, and members of T&M Engineering. One of the problems that we've found with that design is a turnaround at the light to go to Ocean Drive from the Parkway. At this point, we were all on board. I think the chief was there, members of the police department, also Senator Van Drew backed us 100%, and we feel that there is no need for that to be done and that they should spend money on other things. Although they have redesigned the exit at the end of the parkway, which looks very efficient. Also, safety, it's much safer than what is there presently. So they agreed to go back to the drawing board and revisit and look over with their engineers and valued engineers and super high-tech engineers and everybody else to try to rework that. So that was a plus. We also had a meeting with Mayor Gruen from Wildwood Crest, as well as some of the members of our fire commission regarding some of the issues over there with responding to fire and safety and
Diamond Beach.
Yeah, Diamond Beach area. He agreed to work with us, and that's something that is in the works now, sifting through the reports from our police department and such as to the number of calls, volume of calls per year and things like that. So that's something that we're working on. And other than that, just a good day yesterday at the treaty signing for the Lenape Nation. It was a nice event. Weather was perfect. And just wishing everybody a safe and happy Labor Day. I can't believe it's going to be here soon. That's it for me.
Okay, I have some light notes and I have a heavy note to strike tonight. So first to the light notes. Don't forget that big board over there, thanking all the folks that have made our fireworks possible, as well as the recreation programs. I don't know about you, but these concerts have been fantastic and really well appreciated. Thanks to the rec department for all the great stuff that they do. Yes, we did meet with the Lenape Nation. Lenape. Lenape?
Don't tell them you gave back land.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to tell you.
For free.
I stood there and they put a bowl full of smoke in front of my face. And I I inhaled some of it, and in the resulting days, I think, gentlemen, I might just have signed a treaty that gave back portion of each of your wards to the First Nation that was here. I'm not sure, but you're going to have to check that out. Okay, that was a great time, and I'm glad we can be friends even after all these years with our brothers that were here first. Okay, I had an opportunity to go to the MUA board meeting, and I need to report some of the things that came out of that. I know some of you are probably had enough to hearing about the MUA. Are probably tired of it. Many folks have kind of tuned it out for the more interesting summer programming that's out there. But I feel like I just need to remind everybody where we are with this whole thing, because some important developments have come forward. First of all, you'll remember back at the beginning of the story, the MUA was in an organizational tailspin. The employees were in here pleading with us to look into the situation at the MUA. In that context, the council unanimously voted to look into the MUA. We unanimously did. We asked the manager to look into it, and what he did was hired the auditor for the township, the auditor for the MUA, and the auditor for the county as the best person to go in there and look at the situation. And the auditor came back and said that we see a savings to the ratepayers of this township of $1 million a year. And some of you didn't see it. Some of you thought maybe it was monopoly money. Some of you thought, well, maybe it's not quite $1 million. But the three of us saw that this guy was really sticking by the numbers of $1 million a year, and even at half that, we couldn't ignore it. So we voted to ask permission of the State Local Finance Board to consider dissolution and merging the MUA with the township. And what happened just recently, as you know, the State Local Finance Board came back and unanimously agreed with the numbers that we put forward and agreed that we should go ahead and merge the MUA with the township. Now, meanwhile, what's happening over at the MUA? So I went to the meeting. So first of all, there was a report by one of the gentlemen there. The workers are wringing their hands, concerned about the infrastructure. That's clear. We heard some reports there about the infrastructure needs, the long-term infrastructure needs of our MUA for our water and sewer, which we really needed to pay attention to. What was also clear in that meeting is that no one had a plan for addressing them, and if they did, they weren't paying attention to it. Some folks said, well, we had a plan, but we've kind of gotten off the track of following that plan. The engineer wasn't really sure what the plan was. That was a little bit concerning. Now, the chairman of the organization, they just nominated Mr. O'Connor as chairman, and he was basically, his message was, well, I'm just going to sit back and wait until after the election because there's this whole conversation about the MUA. I think I'll just sit back and wait to see what happens at the election before we do anything. Now, that bothers me. The vice chairman is here tonight. I mean, he basically wanted to make clear that he was a good person and had the best interests of the township, and he read his birth certificate out at the meeting to let us know his background, and that was the focus of his comments. Now, the attorney, it turns out, the attorney is spending $15,000 of ratepayer money with a PR firm, okay, a PR firm, to stir up opposition to the plan to merge with the township. And they admit it. And then we've come to find out the resolution that they passed, $15,000 for a PR firm to do things like create websites and print pieces of paper and circulate it around. And then I asked the folks, I said, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Vice Chairman, do you agree with all these things that they're saying? And they said, we don't agree with them all. So here they are funding a PR firm to disseminate misinformation that they don't even completely agree with. And it's the kind of thing that stirs up, misinformation like people are going to lose their jobs and so forth and so on. So this comes out. So instead of focusing on the 5-year plan, or even knowing what's in the plan, and getting back on track and just saying, here's what our priorities are, we need to really work on this, which we need to do, no matter whether they're over here or under our roof. We're going to need to do this, right? So they should be focused on that. But rather than doing that, they're just, well, we're going to wait till after the election now, we're going to hire a PR firm, and we're going to stir up all this dust. Now, meanwhile, you know, I hear talk in the paper, I mean, my good colleagues here are talking about shared services agreement. Well, these shared services agreement, if you look at it, are basically sharing everything except the very thing that will actually save us money. We're going to share this and share that, but we're not going to share the real stuff, which is the administrative costs that's going to really save us the money. So, you know, that's a bit of a smokescreen. And then this week, the Lower Township Republican leader, Jeff Lindsay, who happens to head up HR at the county, where his stepfather is the freeholder director, he just posted on the Township Facebook page that the mayor and I suppose Councilman Neville are delusional. He said we are delusional about the MUA. So this is where the leader of the Lower Township Republican, who stands in the back of the room really strongly against this whole idea, says we're delusional. So I guess what happens when you start losing the argument, you just start calling people names. And, you know, that seems to be what's happening. Now then, we find out that here we have the engineer of the MUA is poised to get another $1 million in fees from the MUA. I mean, that's the next step for continuing with the water main project, $1 million in fees that are coming down the pike. And you find out, and you go, well, why is everybody fighting? You know, we got the lawyer hiring a PR firm, I guess, to fight for his job, because he's afraid he's going to lose his job. And then you've got the engineering firm, which is about to get they just got $1 million in fees, they're about to get another $1 million in fees. And then you find out that this engineering firm is one of the largest contributors to the Republican Party in the county, including one of the largest contributors to the freeholder director in the county. So, what we have here are people that are making the big money off of the MUA, are spending the ratepayer money to stop us from saving big money for the ratepayers. It just boils down to as simple as that. So what I'm saying to my colleagues here and to the MUA, we've been down this road. You need to take this up, first of all, with the governor. The governor said that this MUA is a shadow government and we should look for a way to save money and consolidate. He put the idea in our heads. Take it up with the governor. Take it up with the auditor, the expert. Take it up with the state local finance board, which unanimously said this is a good idea. Take it up with the editorial boards of the local newspapers, which have come out and said this is a good idea and is the right thing to do. And then, you know, if you don't take it up with those folks, I want you to go door to door and take it up with the ratepayers face to face. Because if you don't, we will. And that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you. I'll save some of that for later. The concert series was awesome. And I think I'm not sure, but I think the original idea may actually come out of the Rec Advisory Board a few years back, but it has grown. And this year, I guess we had the 4 concerts, and to see what it has become is really enjoyable. There were thousands of people out there. I made 3 of the 4. And you actually hear people talking about it in the stores. One of the store clerks up on the Avenue here, Bayshore Road, brought up to me that after the last one, the weekend following, she heard people talking about it in the store and how great it is. And it really, it provides, like, there's a lot of people that come here and spend a week with their parents or they rent a place here, and it gives them an alternative. It gives them that opportunity to stay in Lower Township for the whole day. You don't have to go over to the islands at night. You know, that day, Wednesday, you can eat up here for a fraction of what you would pay in Wildwood or in Cape May. And you don't have to fight the traffic over to go to the boardwalk. You can put a blanket out and bring the kids down to watch a movie, which is another series they have. or you can bring the whole family down and sit there and listen to a concert, and they were really good. I mean, they're cover bands, but they were excellent. So, I think we all on council give a high five to our rec department and the rec board, I think, who pushed this thing, but it really is a success story, and it's something that can only grow. I mean, you have like 3,000 or more people sitting on that grass area, and it's not crowded at all. You could easily double that, so well done. Yeah, we were there with the Lenape yesterday. It's the correct pronunciation. I've been reminded 1,000 times over there. And I'm a great fan of theirs. They're very good people. I met them a few years ago on the World Ocean Day, and they've been coming down faithfully. And they recognize themselves and they promote stewardship of the land. And I think we can all agree on that as far as taking care of what God has given us. And that it was a nice, and Tom was there, and then the sun was beating down, and it's why I'm like looking kind of reddish today. Next time I'll wear a hat, but it was a good afternoon. Now our next meeting, incidentally, is on a Wednesday because Labor Day is on the Monday. Okay, and with that, we'll open it up to the call to the public. Is anybody?
I just want to ask you, Mayor, did you all smoke that peace pipe yesterday?
That's
Not enough.
No. I drew the line. I'll do anything for the town, but they asked me to dance in the circle dance, and that's where I said I don't think I can do that. It was hot, but they were all having a good time, and there was a fairly decent crowd for the first time having this. But I think Chief Shelley, and you know who deserves a lot of credit for that before I pass is Eileen. Eileen was like our liaison with the Lenape, our camera person over here. And she did, and the rec department also, and Judy was there, and a few others, I think. But Eileen was the one that was the point person with them over the past 6 months or so, and we appreciate that. All right, Mr. Sir in the front here.
Getting a harder walk up here, but I
We'll
made
bring you the microphone.
Oh, okay, I'm here. All right, listen, I'd like to talk to my councilman from Ward 1. I appreciate what Deputy Mayor has said, and I agree with him wholeheartedly. And Mr. Conrad, as far as the last 8 years in November, I'd like you really to see, to help the residents of Ward 1 out. And two things. The MUA, there's a problem there, to vote for that. The second one is the police station, and move it here in your ward. And for the people that's in this ward, to help them out with that, to have more safety within this area. That's the only two things I want to ask you to do for this coming election, or before this election.
Okay,
Okay?
okay.
Thank you.
Yes, I see a hand back here.
Evening, council members. My name's Eleanor Chestnut. I live in North Cape May. I'm also the adjutant for the DAVA. Councilman Conrad, you were heard last week stating, I don't care where they put the police station. Well, Congressman Conrad, the people of Lower Township and the people of the Villas do care. We care about the safety of our residents as well as our police officers. The police officers must travel at very high speeds down Airport Road to Breakwater, to Fishing Creek Road, or to Bayshore. This is a catastrophe waiting to happen. There's a lot of traffic that goes up and down Bayshore, especially after people get done work. The presence of the police cars could surely deter criminal activity, knowing that the police station is closer and the response time to the police is shortened. Then maybe decreasing the amount of drug houses in the villas and now creeping into North Cape May. A substation at the present area is not sufficient. We have a library, playground, school, recreation centers that are being patrolled, but what about the rest of the area? Maybe our police force could be split into districts like they do in all the other areas and in Philadelphia until we get the police station back where it belongs. One of the suggestions was to share the fire department's buildings and use them as substations for the police department. Also use maybe the MUA building or their parking lots. The presence of police cars should constantly be in full view in their parking lots. There's an old saying, when the cat's away, the mice will play. Please, please bring back the police station to the villas so the mice and the rats can get out of here. Thank
Okay,
you.
ma'am, do you know that the police aren't at the police station, correct? They're out in zones?
They're out in zones.
Right.
But a lot of
I-
them are back there.
No, actually, they're usually not there at all. What I want to do, and where the police station is where it's going to be most effective. I'm not arguing that. Everyone thinks I'm arguing, keep it here, keep it there. I'm not. What I actually want to do, and that can be verified by different people I've talked to, including the manager, I want more police officers. I want the tactical unit back. That way, on trouble spots, wherever it is, wherever in the township, we could put more police officers in that area.
But why do
Okay,
you
there's
want it at
nobody
the
responding.
airport?
I'm not saying I want it in the airport. I've never said that. I said I want it to be in the most cost-effective place for the taxpayers.
Okay.
We do not respond out of the police department.
Well, where do you want it to be?
It doesn't matter where's most effective for the taxpayer.
In the villas?
Is that the most effective for the taxpayer?
I would think so.
That's what I'm trying to find out. That's the only questions I'm asking.
Do we need to get another petition up? Because we'll be glad to do that if we need to, right? Everybody
Okay.
with me? I mean, if we need to get a petition up,
I actually offered to allow that to happen.
well, we can do it. I mean, there's no problem.
That's what I wanted
And
a few months ago.
there's only a quarter of the people here, okay? And you can see the voice of the people on what we did in Lower Township according to the Bay. So don't test the people because we're the ones that put you in the office and we're the ones that can take you out. Thank you.
Okay.
Tom, when you say effective, and I need to clarify, are you talking about financial?
I'm talking partially financial. You already know where I stand on where the police.
Well,
We've went over this numerous times.
Well, your argument back and forth seems to be based solely on the financial end of it.
Yeah, because a lot of my residents. the
Okay, well,
financial end is highly
that's what I'm.
Most of it, but
That's what.
what are we getting
That's what
for
I
money?
just want to clarify.
Okay.
Okay, that your concern is the cost,
and what are we getting?
and I think that for a lot of people, cost is a factor, but I think safety is paramount.
That's
Just
what we-
like saying that you want to hire more for the tactical, well, we've already committed to hiring a couple more police officers, correct, Michael?
We have 3 going to the academy next week.
Okay, so that's been done.
Okay, well-
But the point I'm saying is that when you sit back and you put it solely in terms of the financial end of it, I think that, there's a lot of people that don't see it that way. They would like to have
Originally, this
safety.
started a lot, the financial, and that's where but I want to know what we're getting for how much it's going to be. That's the only questions I've pretty much been asked.
Well,
True or false?
that's coming up.
Okay.
I mean,
That's-
not for anything, it's just like with the MUA, we have the permission of the local finance board. So you will have, coming up shortly, within a month or so, probably the second reading of the bond ordinances. You will probably have by the beginning of October, somewhere in there, I think the architect would be ready, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
There's, and yeah, I get that people might be a little bit tired of the concept of discussion over these two issues, but make sure you understand something. These two issues will shape this town for the next 20 years. Where you have your police station and how you want government to run, and at least from my perspective, as economically and efficiently as possible in reference to the MUA. If we can save the money that we're saying, I think that's where I'm at. I think we should do that. If we don't, you continue with what's going on down the MUA for the next so many years. If you put money into that building at the airport, you sentence the next generation in this township to a police station at the back of an airport. You cannot go over there and start putting money into that place and then say, well, which would be worse than the original mistake because you'd be perpetuating a mistake. We don't do that. We fix mistakes here. So these issues, although I'm sure people may be getting a little tired of hearing about them, they will shape this township for the next 20 years. So it's important that people pay attention to them and sit back and say, well, this one is correct, or this one's, correct, and understand that, because they are the two key issues facing this township right now. If somebody else wish to address council, I saw a hand, this gentleman here.
John Skowronski, 607 Arctic Avenue. On the Rec Advisory Board, at the last meeting, I believe 3 people were either nominated or
Right.
asked to be on the board. And my question is, are all 3 of them on the board? Or
No, 2 were
Because
two were
the
elected. 2 were-
meetings of the minutes didn't say who was actually appointed to the board.
Two were appointed.
Who were the 2?
Resolutions are in there.
It's in the resolutions.
Yeah.
Okay, the 2 that were appointed were
Hold on a second. I have to pull it out.
Steve Morey and
Yeah, Steve
Robert
Maury.
Lamoureux.
Yeah.
And we had spoken about the lady, I can't remember, Mary something.
Right.
And we were saying that we'll find a slot for her at the next available spot.
Okay, so 2 of them
Yes,
were put on
2 were
the board.
put on there.
And one other thing, Bay Shore Road, the intersection of Breakwater and Fishing Creek, that's a county road. Can't we put more pressure on them to fix those intersections?
We have
They're
been-
terrible.
That's, our biggest problems are the county roads, being honest about it.
Yeah,
Go
we've
ahead.
been out there, Gary Douglas, who's a Public Works Director, and myself, with Frank McCall, who's a liaison to the county engineer, about that dip right there where the old pharmacy was. Now it's a medical facility there. And we're trying to get them to fix it. I mean, our Public Works worked in concert with the county crew to fix an area of Fishing Creek Road, but as the council's been asking the county for a while now, we get a lot of complaints in the manager's office about roads. The majority of the complaints are not municipal roads. It's county roads.
County roads.
And, I drive down Fulling Mill Road every day, and Bay Shore, they spent a lot of money last couple of years on Bay Shore. They redid that and did a really good job, but we got many more county roads that need to pay attention. They need to pay attention to, and the council and myself and the Public Works Director have been pushing to get some of these roads fixed.
They did
Yeah,
get
with
part
the-
of Fishing Creek.
With
That
the
was-
county
that was
taxes
dangerous.
that we're paying.
That was dangerous, that fishing.
Yeah.
Yes, but you're absolutely right. But so we're doing, I know the
We pay a
council's
lot of
been,
county taxes here.
I
but
got you.
I hope they hear you.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
You bet.
Somebody else had their hand up? Okay. Close the public portion.
Resolution number 2014-238, a resolution providing for a meeting not open to the public in accordance with the provisions of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-12. This is just to discuss litigation, the Cape May School litigation update, and the Stango versus the Township update.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Councilmember Conrad?
Yes.
Councilmember Neville?
Yes.
Councilmember Simonson?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Clark?
Yes.
Mayor Beck?
Yes.